Recognizes Mr. Fry for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Chiefs, y'all being here today. You know, I'm a little bit deja vu, Mr. Chairman, because just last week we had a border security hearing in Judiciary, and to hear my colleagues on the left in there and in here today, we're imagining things that are going on at the southern border, that we're not engaged in actual fact-finding missions, that we're not looking at the facts. Well, here are some of the facts. Fact, over 100,000 deaths associated with fentanyl just last year. Fact, border crossings are at an all-time high. Fact, millions of gotaways are in this country, and those have been increasing over the last 2 years than ever before. Fact, only 14% of those seeking asylum are legitimate asylum seekers. That was under a Trump administration and an Obama administration. Fact, ICE arrests and removals have decreased, I think according to one study, by 90% from 2019 to present day. And fact, as you testified to, walls work. Just real quick for both of you, can you provide me a real-world example on how border barrier systems or border walls have aided you or your agents in the field?
Specifically for RGV, in areas where we have high number of people crossing, you know, when we have a border wall system or border barrier, if it's a full system, it brings in all-weather roads. It has lights for the nighttime. It has technology that assists us, right? So we don't have to have 20 agents in one zone or region or area. These agents can be mobile in other locations. That barrier, well-equipped, well-advanced technology will tell us if there's a detection or an incursion, so that way agents can maximize their coverage area elsewhere, so that way that product, that barrier, will do its job, and we can maximize the agents deployed elsewhere. Now, aside from that, a barrier is very useful because it also manages flow, and it directs flow into other locations where we can more effectively make an interdiction and more effectively make an arrest.
Chief Baldwin, would you agree with that statement by Chief Chavez?
Yes, sir, I would. And what I would say from my experience, when I started in San Diego back in 1995, we basically had maybe a 6 or 7 foot tall fence that was made up of landing mats. I think they were Vietnam-era landing mats that were put down. And if you were to look at aerial photography of that area then versus now, much of that area that was just, it was uninhabitable because thousands of people would cross it every night, and the property crime rates were very high. It was just a if you looked at it now, there's very expensive homes in those areas, and the community flourishes in an area that at one time was uninhabitable because of the way the border was. Currently, there's double wall through there and plenty of agents to
Are there areas of your sector that would that are currently unprotected by a border barrier that would be helpful to you and your agents?
Yes, Congressman. There's locations in my AOR, in my area of responsibility, that requires barrier that is unprotected at this current time, as well as gates. Gates are super important for us, and currently there's gates that are not there that leave us vulnerable.
Chief Molden.
So, Congressman, in my sector, the good news is we got about 120 miles of border wall system that we asked for. One of the challenges, though, is that it was never meant to be just the wall. It was supposed to be the wall system, the barrier, and then road as well, and fiber optic cable that would alert us when things were going on. I think one of our biggest challenges related to it now are the gaps that exist, which are slowly being remediated, just not in Tucson sector yet. But we look forward to those gaps being closed.
Thank you. Real quick, I know I have 1 minute left. Y'all seized an unprecedented amount of fentanyl just last year, China-sourced fentanyl, at most of the ports of entries. Wouldn't you agree that record overdose deaths from fentanyl among Americans indicate that a significant amount of fentanyl is slipping through the cracks of our southern border?
Sir, again, thanks for the question. I would say that as a Border Patrol agent, as the chief of the sector, I don't believe any of my agents care where it comes through. As long as it enters the United States, then it's certainly a threat to the children of the United States, to everyone that has potentially the potential ability to overdose. So regardless of if it's between the ports or at the ports, it's a threat.
But there is undetected, obviously, undetected fentanyl that is coming through that is not being apprehended by border agents. Is that correct? Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
What forms of fentanyl or fentanyl-like substances are your agents encountering?
To our knowledge, primarily of biggest concern is the liquid fentanyl, is the latest threat that we have seen, especially as we continue to work in partnership with our local sheriff's departments, our local task forces. They continue to try to exploit our checkpoints. And I think Operation Stone Garden and the different types of programs that we have linked up with our task force have been effective, but liquid fentanyl is the latest one that we've seen the trend spike up on.
Chief Molden?
Sir,
Gentleman's time's expired, but please answer the question.
thank you, sir. In my area, generally, it's pill form. A year or two ago, it was mostly the powder. It has certainly transitioned to pill form.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Chair recognizes